Please stand for our prayer. Dear Lord, thank you for Hoover Christian School. Thank you for these wonderful kids and not only graduating with me, but the 7th graders as well. I am so thankful for being able to spend time here and for the safeness I felt provided from you, Lord. Please bless Mr. and Mrs. Abbott and all of my teachers and let them provide for others like they have provided for me the past couple of months. Thank you for this day and please bless us all. Amen. The audience may be seated.
Good evening, everyone. Good evening. We are gathered tonight to celebrate the graduation ceremony of Hoover Christian School in 2023. I would like to extend a welcome from the staff of that school to the families and the friends and the school staff and the church members who all put effort into the final product here, our 3 graduates tonight. It has been an awesome journey for you 3, to be able to make it this far. You're now ready to step into high school, and your elementary, middle grade experiences and your journey and your life and your training has now brought you this far, and God too. God has blessed you, and we have been enriched as teachers, faculty, to be able to know you and to be able to teach you. And so we would like to welcome you tonight to this graduation and feel relaxed and celebratory for our students here.
Welcome, everyone. I just wanted to thank all the parents, grandparents, and teachers and fellow students for taking part of your time and coming here to our 8th grade graduation. This is the ending of our elementary years, as next year we head to high school. Welcome to our celebration.
We chose this poem to go with a book we read called Hidden. The book was a mix of the stories of children during the Holocaust. This poem is a tribute to their stories. Air raid shelters, damp and black, bombs exploding, back to back.
Children crying, adults too.
Down the cellar after you.
Evacuees on the train.
Farewell said in pouring rain. Gone to live in some strange place.
Hoping for even face.
In the city, parents wait
just to hear of their child's fate,
knowing that they have arrived.
Thankful they survive. Memories now not theirs to make.
No hugs or kisses, birthday cake.
Only painful loss is theirs.
Parting sorrows, daily prayers.
Quick to draw them from their pity.
Rage repeating on the city. Sirens screeching, chaos calls.
Thunderous noises as buildings fall.
Underground imaginations.
Violent earth reverberations.
Why, oh why, despair abound?
Exit all as fear resounds. Yesterday for now is gone.
Zeal for life as peace lives on.
Miss Abbott chose this poem for the 8th grade class for us to memorize forever. We will now recite a poetic version of the 23rd Psalms. The Lord
is my shepherd, I lack nothing. He makes me lie down in green pastures. He leads me beside quiet waters. He refreshes my soul. He guides me along the right paths for his name's sake.
Even though I walk through the darkest valleys,
I will fear no evil, for you are with me.
Your rod and your staff, they comfort me.
You prepare a table before me in the presence of my enemies.
You anoint my head with oil, my cup overflows.
Surely your goodness and love will follow me all the days of my life, and I will dwell in the house of the Lord forever.
Ever.
Ranger Todd was born on a farm in Kansas. He is married to Shelley, and they have 4 kids. He has been the ranger of Camp Mesco for 7.5 years, and his favorite things to do at camp are going out on the boat, building things, and making ice cream, and cinnamon rolls. His favorite verse is Micah 6:8, which says, "What does the Lord require of you? But to do justice, and to love kindness, and walk humbly with your God." Welcome, Ranger Todd. We are excited to hear what you have to say to us.
Good evening, graduates. It's a moment of pride. I actually brought Kleenexes in my pocket because no matter how old you get, when you hear that music that you walk down to at graduation, it is the quintessential sublime music of graduation and achievement, and I never can hear that without tearing up. It's just an incredible moment. I remember my own grade school years and my own graduation as though it was just minutes ago. And I'm sure that each adult here can tell you that same story. My mother just turned 82 yesterday, and she loves to sit and tell about the one-room schoolhouse she went to in Wisconsin, about playing in the playground and having the bucket of water in the middle of the room with the dipper that they all dipped out of. She can just tell stories forever, and I could too. I could just tell stories and stories and stories. And as you go on, you're going to look back on these days, and they're just going to live vibrantly for you. More so maybe in the future than they do now. This moment marks a summation of the greatest achievement of your life to date. As you know, it's the product of many mornings getting up really early when you'd rather stay in bed, going out in cold weather and sometimes snowy weather, although less snowy here than where I went to school, where the rule was when the snow gets up to the bottom of the window, we'll cancel school. The windows were 3 feet off the ground. We did cancel school a couple times. Oddly enough, I'm going to submit something to you. You are going to succeed or fail in life based on what you have learned to this point. You will continue to go to school, and you're going to take on information, and you're going to increase skills, but you are going to succeed or fail in life based on what you have learned to this point. My mother ran a home daycare for years, and in the hallway in her home daycare, I used to pause regularly and read that little poem about everything I learned that I needed to know in life I learned in kindergarten. It's really true. So here you are, and you stand on the edge of a great stepping off point. Now, this isn't, guys, I'm talking to you. I'm a pretty simple soul. I came tonight to talk to you. And I'm really telling you the truth. From now on, you're going to enter that process of becoming an adult. It's like you're standing on the pier and there's a great cruise ship and you're about ready to step from the edge of the pier onto the gangway and start walking up to take this fabulous cruise around the world and see things and have grand adventures. You're there right now. So tonight, as we celebrate with you and frankly honor your achievements, they're real. And all your hard work, I want to talk for a few minutes about the idea of daring to be a Daniel in the modern world. I was told that you have talked about this and thought about this. I want to talk about daring to be a Daniel in the modern world. God has blessed you to this point in similar ways as Daniel and his three friends. You know, Daniel and his three friends really grew up reasonably normal life. They were there in Jerusalem. They had caring parents and families. They went to school. They learned, and life was reasonably peaceful. And right about your age, everything changed. In that story that my mama used to read me, your mama may have read you, you know, about the watchman on the wall in Jerusalem, and they would sound the trumpet that all was well, and one day they sounded the trumpet and all was not well. King Nebuchadnezzar's armies were coming down the road. We see war around us, and we know how traumatic that is. We are watching countries at war right now, and it just shocks the mind anew. And we know that these young men were violently taken from everything that was meaningful and secure around them and were taken to this foreign country. You have had, and I'm being really serious about this, you have had the same privileges in so many ways that they had. First of all, you have parents who have made Christian choices for you. The fact that you're sitting here and I'm here tonight in this church celebrating your achievements in a Christian school says something about the parents and the loved ones behind the curtain. Daniel and his friends had the same thing. Your teachers, I could go on tonight until they turn out the lights. Right behind my parents, I could talk wistfully and emotionally and intimately about every teacher, particularly in my grade school years. They are to this day near and dear in my heart. My birthday's on May the 1st. I'm getting to be an old man. And on my birthday, I received a birthday card from my 8th grade English teacher. By the way, the same one that gave me the ice cream recipe. And the third thing they had was spiritual identity and community. They were obviously part of a culture within Israel that still acknowledged and respected and sought after the living God. Obviously, God would not have had to let them be taken captive had they stayed true to him. But these young men were part of a subculture within their popular culture that was different. So as you step out and go beyond tonight, and you go up the gangway onto the ship, and you embark on the big cruise, I want to look at 4 different things from the life of Daniel, just super quick, and draw some really cool points about it that talk about what it meant to be Daniel. The first, and we all know this story, this is really a cool story. So we have Daniel and his 3 friends, and they're taken to Babylon. Nebuchadnezzar was an incredibly wise man, and he said, you know what I'm going to do? I am going to not just treat these people like prisoners, I'm going to take the best of the best from amongst them, and I'm going to nurture and train and educate them, and I'm going to let them help me develop and run this great nation. Smart guy. But as you know in the story, when Daniel and his friends come around to eat, they hit a real brick wall given their values and the God they served. And I believe, being an old man, living a lot of life and seeing a lot, that the thing that was a no-go for them, a no-starter for them, they would not give up their God. They would not allow something to come in and put a wedge and a separation between their God. The food that they were being offered to eat had been blessed and offered to the pagan gods of Babylon. They just weren't going there. It didn't have as much to do with the food as much as it did that by eating that food, they were paying homage to those gods, and they would not betray their God. He was all they had. I would submit to you that our God is all we have. It's all you have. The interesting part of this story, the part that I didn't see so long, the part we never talk about, is in the Bible when it talks about Daniel approaching Melzar, the prince that was in charge of the eunuchs, was that the Bible said that he had an intimate love with Daniel. Something that we all as Christians, something that you need to know, and you've been taught, but don't let it disappear out of your life. Christians act like Jesus. Christians are nice people. Christians are winsome and loving. So all amongst this, Daniel refusing to bow down to the idol, that wouldn't have gone very well for Daniel. He would have ended up probably minus his head. Except that, in this foreign country with somebody that he didn't even know, he was such a winsome and a Christ-like figure that this man, who was a foreigner to him, was literally willing to risk his life in behalf of Daniel's request because he loved him and respected him. It says something about the transformative power of a real relationship with God in our life and what that should look like. The second that we know so much about, the king's dream, he has this dream, and here's this image in his dream, and he wakes up and he's deeply disturbed. And we know that the wise men, they couldn't solve the dream. They couldn't tell him the dream. He demanded that they tell him the dream, and they were all about to be executed, and Daniel found out about this, and he went in to the king, and he says, give me an opportunity. I am going to approach my God. And he does. The king, I believe, gave them a day. And he goes and he prays. I would have liked to have been at that prayer meeting. When he comes back to the king, the thing that is significant is that when Daniel stands up, the first thing he says, and you can get into your Bible, and the story is the same with great men of God from one end to the other, save Moses at the rock. And he says, King, I'm not the sharpest crayon in the box, and I really can't get you from here to there, but my God can. Great men of God who are friends of God always lift God up. It's not a foo-foo act. They really know that they're nothing without God. Graduates, if you want to go far in life, you have to know this. If you don't remember anything else I said tonight, know this. You are nothing without God. And you're everything with him. absolutely everything with him. We go on down to the fiery furnace. This was, the one of the little kids, they really, I loved this, when I was a little kid, and here's the plain of Dura, and I just feel the isolation, as I'm standing there in my fantasies, and everybody's around me, and they're looking at me like, dude, and you ever felt peer pressure? Try standing with every person in the nation in front of the golden image, and the music plays, and everybody drops down, and here you are. Whoa, that's heavy, heavy cooking there. The king loved them. They were faithful servants. He wanted them to do well, and he brings them up, and he says, look, guys, I know you. I know your service to this country. I love you, and I'm going to give you another chance. And they said, okay, save the air. We will not betray our God. Don't bother with the music the second time. They didn't say it to be mean. They loved the king. It's going to come out here in a second. They loved the king. They were faithful to the king. But nothing would separate them from God. King throws a big hissy fit. They bind him up. Clothing and all. The Bible's detailed about this, about all the clothing, and they bind them up and boom, into the fiery furnace. The men who threw them in fall dead, we know. And suddenly, the people watching the king see that the king is white as a sheet. And he literally comes out of his throne in shock. And he is staring ghostly into the furnace. And he says, didn't we throw 3 men in there? And his advisors say, yes, Your Majesty, we did. And he says, well, I see a 4th man in the fire, and the 4th man looks like the Son of God. It's like a wow story, and he calls them and they come out of the fire. Here's the part that you got to know. One of my favorite books in the world is a history written by Ellen White called Prophets and Kings. And in that book, she says that when Nebuchadnezzar looked into the fire, that he recognized Jesus because of the lives that the Hebrews had lived and the things they had said about their God. He recognized Jesus because of the lives and testimonies of those 3 men. Man, I would love to think that my life is lived in a way that other people, if they were to see Jesus, they were to say, yeah, Ranger Todd, you remind me of him because I want to be like Jesus. And I have his fingerprint. There's one other story that I'd like to mention here, and it's not about Daniel, but it's about the effects of Daniel, and it speaks even more heavily about our God, which is what all of this is about. If it's not talking about God, it has no value. If it doesn't tell us about the character of our God, it has no value, because everything to me is, who is my God? Why do I serve him, and is he worthy to serve? It's when God came down and he gave Nebuchadnezzar another dream, and he's this giant, massive tree, and in the dream, the tree gets cut down, and this band of metal is put around it for 7 times or 7 years. And he calls in, and again, the magicians can't answer, and he calls to Daniel, and Daniel comes in, and he says, you're pretty high and lifted up, buddy. You think you're all that in a bag of beans. And it's not that God is all Mr. Pride. God knows something that he's trying to convince us of. I've said it twice tonight. I'm going to say the 3rd time. God knows that if we have him, we are everything. This isn't something I learned to say in college. This isn't something I prepared to say for a speech. This is something that I have learned in my own life in a very hard and grisly way. When I have God, I have everything, and when I don't have him, I have nothing. The truth is, if you look through the biblical history, God sent great men to every empire on earth to reach out to the rulers and the monarchs of that empire to say, I am the living God, follow me. He sent Moses and the children of Israel to Egypt. He sent Esther to Medo-Persia. Daniel goes to Babylon. God is reaching out. This isn't a story about us and us versus them. God is reaching out to these people. And God is relentless in his pursuit. We have to chase him off. He is a gracious and a faithful friend. And he sends this vision to Nebuchadnezzar, and Nebuchadnezzar sort of comes to his senses for a little while. But then he goes off the reservation. And he's wandering around his palace one day. And he starts calling out about what a great guy he is. And look at all I've done. You hear it all around you in the world now. Do we not live in a world that is all about me? That's all about selfishness, all about look at who I am? But there is this reality, and this reality is that we live before a gracious but a living God, and we are nothing without him. And so God will not stand for this, not because he has a short temper, not because he's petty, not because he's proud, but because he realizes that Nebuchadnezzar and his kingdom is nothing without him. And so about this moment, Nebuchadnezzar totally loses his cookies. He loses his mind, literally. And his aides have to usher him out of the room, and he literally lives in the fields with matted hair, eating grass like an animal for 7 years. And at the end of that 7 years, the greatest monarch to ever live in world history came back to his senses. And he says, now I see. And he doesn't say it like, all right, I got myself humbled. I know who the big man is. No. He says, now I see who my God and my Savior is. I see that I need him. I tell you what, kids, God has knocked me down a great many times in my life. I have suffered. I'm so thankful for my suffering today. Because what God taught me is that I am nothing without him. But that if I am in his arms, and if I acknowledge him as Daniel and his friends did, that nothing, absolutely nothing can happen to me outside of his care. So going forward from here, you're going to make some bad decisions. Everybody here knows you will, because we did. You're going to do what we in Christianity call falling and failing. We did. But there's some things you have to know. You have to know. You have to take home with you tonight. Your God is a faithful friend. He will never leave you. He will never forsake you. You have to beat him off with a stick. He might do you like Nebuchadnezzar. You might get really, really, really cut down. But he's not doing it because he's petty. He's not doing it because he's proud. He's doing it because if you know that everything is through him and of him, and you surrender there, and if you learn to be his friend and to trust him, you're in the safest place on earth. You need to know that not one hair of your head will fall outside of his will. You remember the story that I told at Week of Prayer about the lady when I was a police officer standing in the middle of the road. Jesus, don't let them do this to me. And boom, there's my car up over the hill. 30 seconds either way, and it would have just been a starry night. You've got to know that you serve a faithful God, and that not one hair of your head will fall in this world outside of his care. And in this world, stood with the whole village in Dadeville at a prayer vigil and put my arms around friends. And we wept and we prayed together after the mass shooting there the other night. My son worked with one of the girls that was badly shot. She's still in a coma. I went to the grocery store, and one of the girls that was killed waited on me at the grocery store. We live in a truly dark world. I'd like to tell you something better, but the thing I can tell you that's the best is that you live in a world with a living and knowledgeable God that knows every hair on your head, and not one of them can fall outside of his will. Find Jesus. Find him, the individual Jesus. Go to him every day. There is not a day in my devotional life that I do not wander around and follow Jesus. He's cool. I love the way he does things. I love the way he feels. It informs my life and it transforms me as an individual. David, the king, said, as a deer pants after water, my soul pants for you. A great warrior, a great king, a great sinner, a man who had victories, a man who made mistakes. But in that moment where he said, as a deer pants after water, my soul pants after you, in that moment he was Daniel. That is what made Daniel. What made Daniel is that his God was everything, and he could not live without him. Congratulations, graduates. Go from here, enjoy it. It's a great journey. But also know that you go into a dark and hopeless world that is only joyful because we have the promise of a loving Savior. You may go on, you may become a nurse and sit by the bed of children that are suffering and hold their hands and give them comfort and joy and treat their ailing bodies. And in that moment, you are Jesus to them. You may go on and be a mechanic. You may go on and be a police officer, patrolling your town and protecting its citizens. You may work on an ambulance. You may be a lawyer and defend people who have been done wrong. Just know, like Daniel, that everything is about God and that he is everything to you. And if you will do that, and if you will seek the face of Jesus, your lives will be amazingly profound. Go on the journey. We'll be watching from behind the curtain. We won't be scrutinized. We're going to be rooting for you. I'm a shy guy. I don't really, you'd never know it, but I am. I'm very shy. But since you've taken me into your life and given me the privilege of being here with you and even sharing this event, I'll be watching. Your teachers are going to be watching. They love you. You will never know. Your parents will be watching. We want you to win. We want you to win. So go from here boldly, holding the right hand of God. Knock it out of the park. Thanks.
Thank you for your words, Mr. Todd.
Thank you so much for your words.
Thank you, Ranger Todd, for a wonderful speech.
It is time now for parent tribute. And parents, when you hear your name, or grandparents, when you hear your name being called, we'll ask you to stand and listen, because the 8th graders have sent a message to you, and there'll be some pictures, and then 8th graders, your flowers are over here. Just choose whichever one, and we're ready.
Will the grandparents of Ellie Jones please stand?
I'd really like to thank my grandmother for letting me go to this school and pushing me to my limits academically. It's really been a benefit to me and has helped me and my family. I'm also very grateful for my grandmother and my grandfather for doing all the financial things. I really do love my grandparents. Every minute I spend with them I cherish in my heart. They have always been the light of my life. They have been there for me through the thick and thin, and they have saved me from many situations. They take care of me, trying to fulfill my every possible want and need. They will always be my parents. I love you, Grandjan and Grumps.
Will the mother of Eric Perez please stand?
Dear Mom, thank you for always being there for me, always having to put up with me, wanting me to be the best I can be, supporting me in everything I do. Thanks for providing me with food so I can eat, and thank you for having a roof over my head so I can sleep. Thanks for taking care of me, and I just wanted to thank you for everything you have done for me.
Will the parents of Abigail Bourbon please stand?
Mom and Dad, thank you for your support and your love. Also for bringing me to this wonderful school. Thanks for giving me the courage to continue on during the semester. Mom, thank you for your help with my homework, even though I didn't want you to. Dad, thank you for everything. I love you guys. Happy.
Just for a second, I would like to say something about each student. This is Abigail Bourbon's 3rd year at HCS, and she's the little mother for many of the people in her class, reminding them of deadlines, encouraging them in their struggling with IXL. You can do it, you can do it. She also won the American Citizenship Award for her character and her care of others. This is a very valuable award in such a disrespectful world in which we all live. Ellie Jones came to us this semester, and you wouldn't know that she's only been here for a few months because she has fit in with her class and has been a good addition to the class. She's very academically competitive, which gave some kids some run for their money, which that is always a good thing. And I enjoy hearing her compete with her 7th and 8th grade classmates. And then we have Eric Perez. And Eric, I was trying to think, this is your 4th year, right? 3rd year. 4th, yeah, I think that's right. I was trying to count back when I was doing this. And, you know, Eric, his biggest thing that has happened to him this year is this deep voice that he suddenly has. And, you know, it was like overnight. You know, a lot of times Eric didn't do that. It was just like one night, you know, he went to bed and woke up and had this deep voice. And it was like, whoa. You know, one thing about Eric, I will say, is the fact that he always is looking out to help others and to encourage others. And we have a really great 8th grade class this year. And I just want to say that I have appreciated being able to teach you all. And I am excited for those who are staying around for high school round. And Ellie, you can leave, but we will be here. So come right on back, okay? When it doesn't work out, you just come right on back. We're glad to have you. All right, and then Mrs. Petty, I think we're ready for the good stuff.
All right, now it's time for the reason we're all here this evening, the diplomas. Mrs. Abbott as principal, Mr. Bose as Gulf States Conference Education Superintendent. These 8th grade students have met the requirements for graduation for the state of Alabama and the Seventh-day Adventist North American Division Education Department. At this time, 8th grade students, please stand and prepare to receive your diplomas. Abigail Yisa Bourbon. Ellie Elaine Jones. Eric Yoel Perez.
And I'm going to let the 8th graders come up here just for a second, and parents, and grandparents, you can get some pictures of them just standing there with their diploma covers. And that way you can get them as a group if you would like. And please, yeah, come out, it's okay. Yeah, if they want, absolutely. You're only going to get to do it once, so. I mean, in their lifetime. All right. Mr. Bose, do you want to come back up? And if I can have my 2 helpers. Unfortunately, there is always a time where a school will have a teacher who decides to make a change. Often that's in retirement. Sometimes, though, it is in the changing of job description. And so, Mrs. Trent, if you will come up. Mrs. Trent has taught here for, I said at 12th grade graduation, since the beginning of time, because she also was a student here. And so Mrs. Trent is actually getting ready to start her own education business, Learning with Latitude. Learning with Latitude, and I would suggest you check out her business because I think it will be a tool that we will encourage people to use. And Beverly is a really strong teacher, so I'm telling you, it is a disappointment when, thank goodness, God told me beforehand, I kid you not. I was standing in the shower the morning. Beverly said she wanted to talk to me, and God had said, Beverly's leaving. Otherwise, I would have had, but unfortunately, he gave me a little heads up. But anyway, we have got this great blanket for you, and I'll let you go over there, Beverly, and see it really quick. And it just has some of adjectives, books, students, learning, field trips, plays, things that were an important part of Beverly's teaching career. And of course, you know, we had to put well, just all kinds of really cool, our names there, so you would remember. She always says, eyes on me. That's on that's on there. So anyway, we just wanted to let you know, Beverly, we will miss you. You'll always be a part of our family. And I think Mr. Bose wants to come over and say something also.
Yeah, I was just thinking, it was a Monday afternoon. Doesn't seem like very long ago that I was able to come up, and it was the week before school started, and got to take the staff out for lunch and get to know everybody a little bit better. I'm not sure where the school year has gone, but parents, students, I hope you know what a great faculty and staff you have here at Hoover Christian School. They have been a joy to work with. I get to visit. I get to spend time in the classroom. I get to know the students a little bit and getting to know the staff even better. And you just have a great group. I've only gotten to know Beverly really well for the last couple of years, teachers' meetings and visiting her classroom. Wonderful teacher. Wish it was longer, but we want to wish you from Gulf States the very best in your business, and we really are going to miss you.
Thank you.
We'll just wait right here just for a second. Mrs. Trent will have the benediction for us, and then there'll be a recessional. And we are inviting everybody over. We have quite a lovely reception with fruit and cupcakes and drinks and gifts for some of the kids. You might want to make sure you head that way. And places, there's great picture places, those type of things. And we ask that the 7th grade parents and the 7th graders also come over, because it's just a really nice end of the year piece. You can, if it's raining, I would suggest that you just drive around to the back of the school. The gates are open. It will be in the assembly room. And if it's not raining, you're welcome to walk through the gate that is right over here, okay? But we hope you all will join us, and the 7th graders will dismiss. Okay.
Let's bow our heads for prayer. Father God, thank you so much for these precious 8th graders, well, 8th grade graduates now. They're on to high school. We just thank you so much for their lives. Thank you so much for the joy we've had in teaching them and in watching them learn and grow. We just ask that you would always comfort them with the joy of your presence, help them to always know that you are right there beside them, and help them always to hear a voice behind them saying, this is the way, walk in it. We love you so much, Lord. Thanks for being our best friend. In your loving name we pray, amen.
Just really quickly, would the 8th graders please stand? Nope. Would the 8th graders please stand? Let's give them a hand also. We're ready now for the recessional.